Here, we'll work with some of Illustrator's drawing tools, and we'll begin by opening the Lesson 6 file. So I'll just go up to File, Open, and navigate to the Lesson 6 folder and open the L6 Start file. And we can see that we have 4 artboards here. I'll fit them all in the window. And now I'll open up my Artboards panel by going to Window and down to Artboards. And the first one we want to work on, the first artboard, is the Logo 1. So I'm going to select that in the Artboard panel. And then I'll fit that artboard in the window just by pressing Ctrl 0. And the first thing I want to do is get my selection tool and select that circle, and then go up to Object, down to Lock, and over to Selection. And that locks the object so that we can't select it or accidentally move it or have it get in our way. Now, I'll select the Curvature tool in the toolbar. And I'll open up my Properties panel and make sure that there is no fill. I'll click the stroke color and make sure it's this dark gray. And then I'll also make sure that the stroke is set to 4 points. And with the Curvature tool, we start a path by clicking to set an anchor point and then clicking other points, and you'll see how this works in a minute. I'm going to, with my Curvature tool, click on the circle there on the left to set the first anchor point, and then I'll move over to the right a little bit to set another anchor point. And now I'm going to move my cursor around and see what's happening here. It's kind of known as a rubber band. This gives you an indication of where the curve is going to go. So wherever you set your next anchor point, the curve is going to look like it does with this rubber band. So I'll move it up and over to the right a little bit and click to set another anchor point. And again, notice how we can see where the curve is going to go. And I'll just move my cursor around to create a kind of hilly landscape, using my rubber band to help me determine the shape and direction of the curve. And there, I think I've got my horizon like I want it. Now I'll just press the Escape key to deselect the Curvature tool. And that looks pretty good. It's just kind of a curvy line to indicate a hill-like object. Now with that line selected, I'm going to go to Object Lock Selection because we're going to draw some other curves and I don't want to accidentally have that line get in the way. So now we'll draw kind of a river. So I'll click once to set my anchor point. I'll move down and to the left a little bit to set the next anchor point. And then notice the rubber band, which gives me an indication of the direction and shape of the curve. And I'll just continue setting anchor points until I get something that I like. And again, I'll press Escape to deactivate the Curvature tool. Now I'll move my cursor over to the right of that first anchor point that I set for that first line there, and I'll click to set another anchor point, and again I'll click and use the rubber band to help me determine where I want the curve to go. So that looks pretty good. kind of like a river coming out of the horizon. Now, if I don't like the shape of my curves, I can always go back and edit them. I'll click to select that curve on the left and then hover over one of the anchor points until I see the change in the cursor. And I know that the anchor point is selected, and I can just click, hold, and drag those anchor points wherever I want them to go. So if I don't like the way the curve was drawn originally, I can always change it. I'll deactivate the curvature tool and work on maybe this horizon line. I better unlock everything. So go up to Object, Unlock All. And again, I'll get my curvature tool and just click, hold, and drag the anchor points to move the shape of the curve. Now, if I want to add a curve, I can hover my curvature tool over the path until I see a plus sign, and that will add an anchor point. And that gives me even more control to reshape the line. So I'll just continue to select anchor points and change my curve until I get something that I like. Now, we'll use the curvature tool to create straight lines. And here, I'll lock all of the artwork that's on the board right now. Go to Object, Lock, Selection. And I'll hover my cursor, I'll get my curvature tool, and hover the cursor over the horizon line. And we're going to draw some mountains, some peaks, which involve straight lines. So I'll click down here on the horizon line to set the first anchor point. I'll move up to set the next anchor point. But notice when I set the next anchor point, it's going to create a curve, but we'll fix that. So I'll click to select or set the next anchor point. And I've created a curve, but I don't want that. So I'm going to go back to that second anchor point, and I'll double click on that anchor point, and that changes it to a corner, an angle. So now we have some straight lines. I'll go ahead and set another anchor point, and it's going to create a curve, which isn't exactly what I want. So I'm going to double click the last anchor point I set and the one before that. And there it's turned those curves into corner points. So I'll just continue to set anchor points, and this time I'll hold down my Alt or the Option key on a Mac while I'm setting the anchor points, and that automatically makes them corners. So now I think I'll go back and select some of those anchor points and change the shape of these mountains until I get something that I like. And again, I just click on the anchor point, hold the mouse down, and drag to where I want the anchor points to go. So I think I've got that set. And there's a little bit about the curvature tool and using that to create curves and straight lines.